Hi, everybody. My name is Jared Milrad. I am the founder of Movie Karma. We're a nonprofit organization based here in Los Angeles, California, in the United States that focuses on inclusion, equity, representation, as well as social impact in Hollywood. And as I'm sure many of you are aware, in these past several weeks, we've had some incredible guests on the podcast. Who are certainly making a difference through the power of storytelling. And today's episode is no exception. We have two co-directors joining us who created an incredible film that we just celebrated as part of our Show for a Change Film Festival. Their names are Luis Villegas and Francisco Acosta. Both of them are joining us today to talk about their award-winning film, Expedition Tribuga, which, again, we celebrated as part of our Show for a Change Film Festival. It's a very powerful film about protecting our environment, protecting culture in Colombia specifically, and I'm excited to talk to them both today about their film and the impact of the project. So Luis, Francisco, thank you so much for joining us. Excited to have you on the show.
Thank you for inviting us. Yeah, we are super happy to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's dive in. You both are co-directors on this project along with Felipe Mesa and an executive producer, Jack Farine. I wanted to start off though, getting a little bit of both of your backgrounds to start. Luis, we saw that you are a Colombian Spanish individual. You're passionate, obviously, about storytelling with over 12 years of experience. Your focus on conscious content, socially conscious content, and work in areas of sustainability, the environment, and innovation. Luis, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little about your background and how did you find your way to becoming a filmmaker?
Yeah, all right. Everything started around, 12, 15 years ago. I started industrial design. And when I graduated in Colombia, I had the opportunity to move to Miami, where I live with my cousin. And she was working for a video production company for a really renowned Colombian film director, Simon Brandt. So I happened to work with him for like 6 months, and it changed my mind completely to have this closeness to the film production. Then I moved to London to study English, and then I decided to move forward and study filmmaking in Barcelona. And then I started to do a few films, but then I got into the documentary filmmaking process, and I just fall in love with the documentary filmmaking. And then I started doing it for the past 10 years, a lot of short films, and we mainly focus the production in kind of a more like in a kind of documentary filmmaking point of view.
Yeah, which this piece definitely falls within that approach, which is really cool. Francisco, we saw you have an advertising background. You have a master's in documentary filmmaking. And have done a lot of photography work, audiovisual work, and also you've worn many different hats in the industry, from director, producer, photo assistant, etc. And you even have some drone filming experience and underwater photography experience. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up becoming a filmmaker yourself?
Well, curiously, it's the region, the Chocó region, that we ended up making this film. It was, for me, what introduced me to photography and filmmaking. As you say, I study advertising, and I work for many years in advertising world. And then I decided to quit all of that and moved to this region, specifically to the Tribuga Gulf in the Chocó. That was about 80 years ago or something like that. And being there, I really like photography, but I got to work a bit more on that area. And my relationship with film currently started with the beginning of this project. That was 4 or 5 years ago, with the necessity of communicate to the world the richness of this place, and make awareness about what could happen if we don't pay attention of taking care about these sensible places that we have in Colombia and in the world. So yeah, basically that.
And I want to talk about that, Francisco, quite a bit, and the power of this project specifically. Before we do, though, Luis, I know you wanted to share a little bit about your team, because it's a really interesting collaboration. You had 3 co-directors on this project. Obviously yourself, Francisco, Felipe, and then executive producer Jack Farine. Tell us a little bit about the team, Luis, that you were part of, and some of their backgrounds as well.
Okay, so to make the story short, the film started with Francisco, and who is have experience in advertising, and he's been in the region for many years, and Felipe Mesa, who is a photographer and conservationist, really renowned in Colombia. So they were traveling a lot in this area, and they started to do a little bit of filming in order to capture the essence of the place, in order to kind of try to protect it. But then they went in a small trip with some scientists, and they found like really good material. So they wanted to do a film, but they didn't have the knowledge to do a film. So they wanted to find a team who has the knowledge in documentary filmmaking. So they got to us, Jack Farine and me. We are partners in a company, Pavo Real Films. So they called us, we met, and we fall in love straight away with the project. And we started our 4 of us as 3 co-directors and 1 executive producer. But then the project became like kind of collaborative film. So we have many cameras, many underwater cameras, many drone shots, many people got involved. But the 4 of us is very good because we kind of help each other. Francisco has this advertising background. My knowledge is documentary filmmaking. Jack Farine has masters in environmental studies in Canada, and Felipe is conservationist. So we had, all of us, we have our own specialty, and we all together have this, we managed to do this powerful team in Expedition Tribuga that was the beginning of the whole movement.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Francisco, I want to build on that, from what Luis said, in terms of that collaboration. What was your perspective and role in terms of creating this project and bringing it to life? Like, did you each have, it sounds like you each had some areas of expertise that you took on, or maybe parts of the project that you focused on. What was your focus, if you had one as part of the team?
Well, as I mentioned before, I have worked in the region for many years. So I think one of the things that I brought to the team was the relationship with the communities and the knowledge of the place and how to produce and to make this film and these expeditions happen in a way. So yeah, I and my family, we have to create a bond with some of the communities in the area. So we already have like their trust and their friendship, and I think that opened us a lot of doors there to make this expedition Tribuga.
So let's on that point, Francisco, let's talk a little bit about this part of the world. A lot of folks, I'm sure, are not aware of Tribuga or know much about it. And thankfully, because of your film, I think many more people will know the importance of this region. It's on the Pacific coast. It's in Colombia. It's a kind of remote part of the country. I myself have been to Cartagena. I'm sure some of our listeners have been to parts of Colombia that are more well known. But what is the importance of this region, and give us a sense of the history and kind of the ecological value of this part of the world. Luis, if you want to take that.
All right. So to start with, the place is a unique place. It's among the 20 places in the most important in conservation for the world. So it's a unique place, I give the word to Francisco, who has been there for many years, but after that I can wrap it up with a little bit of things that we managed to do during the film. Pacho?
Yeah, I can I always sum it up with the phrase that I'm there, I feel like tiny. I feel like everything around me it's like an enormous and it's overwhelming, Ecologically talking, it's a region that is a volcanic region, and one of the most one of the places that has more rain in a year. So we have this volcanic land, rich in nutrients, and we have a lot of fresh water that comes from the clouds, and it ended up in the Pacific Ocean. This creates conditions where life practically born everywhere. So there's a lot of biodiversity in the region, and a lot of life, basically. Whenever you look, you will see an animal, a plant, something is growing and something is living there. And about the social part of the region, it has the ancient indigenous tribes that haven't been there for thousands of years. And we have also Afro-American communities that when there was slavery in Colombia, they escaped from the big cities and big mines, and escaping from the people that enslaved them, they ended up in this region of the Chocó that is really disconnected, have been really disconnected from the other parts of the country. Basically, there are no roads to go there. You can only go by plane or by boat. So it has maintained isolated from the rest of the country, and that has created a very virgin and unique place in Colombia right now.
Luis, I know you wanted to add to that, and could you talk a little bit about also some of the threats that this area has faced? Specifically, I understand there was a port that the government of Colombia was looking to build there.
During the creation of the film, there was some threaten, like wooden. There was a big company from Canada who was the idea was to take some wood from the forest and sell it. So it was business about wood. So we were like kind of checking on that. But then there's been a project for more than 50 years in the Colombian government to build one of the second biggest port in the country in this place. It's perfect for in the condition to build the port in the conditions. But it was a big threat because it came on board again with a change of government, with a new president. So they put it again on the table to get on board. So our goal was to put a spotlight in the place and to tell to the world, like, we have to protect this. We cannot build this port. And then checking with some scientists and universities that came on board, they were checking then and doing some studies, and they said there's so much biodiversity that we don't even know what we have. So during the process of making the film and telling the world that we have to protect this and avoid the construction of the port, we managed, with a group of people that work close with us, send an application to this foundation Mission Blue of the Dr. Sylvia Earle, and we managed for them to kind of check on the place, and the Gulf of Tribuga during the process of the film was we celebrate that it was nominated as a hope spot for the conservation, marine conservation to the world. So it was one of our biggest achievements during the process of making the film. It's a important place, not for Colombia, for the world.
Right. I mean, that's an incredible achievement to have it be recognized as you said, as a hope spot, on the world stage, so that people know the value of this place. Francisco, I'd love to just build on some of what you said earlier too about the richness of the region. I mean, it's almost hard to describe, even though we see it in the film. Folks who haven't seen the film should. Or should hopefully one day visit or learn more about this region, because the biodiversity is so rich. You show in the film, humpback whales that come off the coast. We see the abundance of sharks on land. as you said, Luisa, new species being discovered all the time of plants, of insects, so forth and so on. And then that's not to even mention the indigenous communities that you described, Francisco, as well, that live there. Tell us a little bit more about why this place is just so unique, and should really be protected, Francisco.
It's a place, as I mentioned before, where life is practically everywhere, and what it makes it unique is that many of these species, marine species that are traveling around all the world, like humpback whales, like whale sharks, like silky sharks, and many other species, turtles, and more species of marine animals. They like literally come to this place to give birth, to make life, and they choose this place because of the quantity of nutrients that the sea has, and because the tranquility they can have that they can have there. So in the research we have found, or different organizations have found, that many of these animals just decide to come to this place to give birth. And that make it a really special point in the sea biodiversity and of the sea communications, and that. In fact, recently in the COP 26 that it was celebrated in Glasgow, the governments of Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, and Ecuador decided to create a migration
protected
road, migration road, and amplify the reserves that they have in Galapagos, in Cocos Island, and in the coast in Panama, and in the island of Malpelo in Colombia, and Gorgona in Colombia. So that specifically part of the Pacific coast is really important, because all these animals travel around this area, give birth in different places, and all is the whole as a unique ecosystem. And a lot of these species just give birth in the Tribuga Gulf, where they find like the comfortable place and the nutrients to feel comfortable. And in the jungle space, you can find a lot of different species, as Luis said before, many species that we don't know yet, of plants, of animals, of reptiles, of frogs, of a lot of different animals that we can learn about. We could learn about these new plants that we can discover in the jungle. We can learn about the indigenous and the traditional knowledge of the indigenous of using different kind of plants also, because when you destroy nature, you don't only destroy the nature or the animals, you're destroying a whole culture that lives there and understands, and a way to see the world in a different way. That I think that's what we are now in the world. We are on a lack of new visions of the world, and new understandings of the world. And I think that to lose a place like this, we will miss a lot. We will miss a lot of things that we don't know yet, and that's hard feeling.
Right, we'll lose things that we don't know yet. It's really a powerful point. Luis, talk about, if you would, building on that, if this area was quote unquote developed, if there was a port here, some of the scientists in the film, which obviously are doing taking on this incredible endeavor, as Francisco said, by documenting the space and finding new species and sort of collecting data. But what would happen if there was a port built, if there was development? How would this impact the region and the species there?
The first thing is that it would break the balance, and it's a very important place for the worldwide balance. It's the first thing. The second thing is that it's not only the port, because it will build a road and the railroad. So it will bring all, because of course the port is built not only to bring in things from China and stuff like that, but to take out our natural resources. So of course, it's been shown that a few kilometers down south, there is the biggest port in Colombia, in the Pacific, Buenaventura, and it's been shown that this port is only on 50% of its capacity right now. So we don't need another port. We don't need another port. That port is under its capacity of work. So we can put some money in that port and make it better instead of building another one, And it's been shown that this place is one of the most dangerous places right now in Colombia: prostitutes, drug trafficking, violence. So it will bring to this pristine, virgin place, it will bring all of that. It's one of the things. It will break the balance, and it will take out all the ecosystem services that the place bring, not only for the local community, but to the world.
Right, and it also has incredibly long-term effects, with maybe some short-term gain for some people that benefit economically from that. Francisco, I'm wondering, what your thoughts are for people around the world who may be listening to this and think, sounds like a nice place, love to visit, but how does this affect me? How does Tribuga and the Chocó in this area impact me or help me? What would you say to people who might have that question, who are wondering how this area, protecting this area affects them?
Well, we see every day that we are more connected than what we thought in the past, and the world is now getting, I think, smaller every day. So everything that happens on the earth is affecting us. We just saw it 2 years ago with this pandemic. I think that started in China, and it spread for all over the world. And these places, this pristine forest, this magnificent part of the ocean, these places that have not been touched by modern development, are important, as Luis said, to keep a balance in the whole earth. Earth, as I see it, is a single living thing. We all live there, but it works as a single organism. And if we don't understand that on time, we will kill it. And we have to maintain these places that are lungs and vital organs to this earth that we live in.
Right. We see that in the film, that these indigenous communities that have been there for probably thousands of years, hundreds of years, if not much more, have been living in harmony, essentially, and in balance with this area and this region, using the fisheries off the coast, using the plants, but doing it in a sustainable way. What do you think, Luis, we can learn from these indigenous communities that are there, which are obviously under threat around the world of being completely, extinguished?
The first thing for me, and the most important, is the relationship with nature, the relationship with the world. That's one of the things that we learned from this expedition, and we're still working in this area. We're still trying to learn from them, and keep working in order to protect the area. But yeah, it's the relationship with the place. They live from these ecosystems. Ecosystem that they live from the clean water, they live from the ocean, they live from the jungle. So the relationship, a clean and pure relationship that they've been having for thousands of years. As well, this is a really, the people is super, they live in harmony, as they say in the film. This is paradise for us, and paradise is not having a luxury car or a supermarket is to have freedom. And they tell you, like, the biggest luxury we have is freedom, is clean water, is, you know, all these places, and it's going to be ruined by the construction of a port, of a road, of the railroad. So yeah, it's learning from this relationship with nature that we're still fighting for it. We, like people in the cities, we don't understand that, but when you come to the pristine places like this, you understand, you really understand how is a true relationship with nature.
Right. Yeah, it was really powerful to hear one of the indigenous community members say that what he values the most is that freedom to see the sun rise and set, to go into the forest, to fish, to be in, to have clean water, as you said, and clean air. And it really, I think, puts in perspective what a lot of us in the so-called developed world think is more valuable, like you said, which is usually stuff and things and more things, money and so forth. Francisco, what is the current status of this part of the world and part of Colombia? I understand that you, as Luis said, you made it into a hope spot now. I think you're trying to get it even, greater status of protection, like World Heritage status and so forth. What is the status of this area, and what are the prospects for protecting it moving forward?
Well, for now, the port is like blocked for now, with all this citizen movement that we participate in 2 years ago. It has created a lot of pressure on the government, and they put it on the spot, and so they couldn't find a way to pass the laws that they have to pass, and the port as a project is blocked for now. But as Luis said, this idea came from 50 years ago, so it comes and goes everywhere. This is like a continuous struggle with this kind of development that we're thinking right now in the community. The good thing is that the communities are now talking about how to develop in their own way, and how to find this lack of many things that they have, because they have a really high quality life, but they have lack of health from the state and education. So they are managing to create their own development model, so they can develop their region as they want. That's as it should be. And now, as I mentioned before, in the COP 26 this year, they are creating this big Pacific reserve between the Ecuador until Costa Rica, that we think that it might help to protect the whole area, because Tribuga is a really important place to this cycle, maritime cycle. So that's like the actual state. I don't know if Luis want to add something.
No, mainly that the right now the 3 of the 4 countries already are working on towards the protection. Colombia is still on silence. Our actual government hasn't moved forward very strong in order to cope with the thing they promised in the COP26. So we want to keep pushing. As I mentioned before, we are now developing a new documentary series that we're gonna follow the life of follow the investigation of few scientists in the area, in order to keep pushing, in order to keep putting this spotlight in the place, and keep showing to our government and to the world the importance of really protecting, because as Pacho said, this thing has been going on for more than 50 years, and it's not that we won the whole war. We won a battle. Right now the port is not going, but of course it's still on the table for the government.
Right. It's an ever ongoing struggle, and requires ongoing vigilance. And so you both are doing yeoman's work, and I would argue heroic work doing what you're doing to protect it. My last question to you both, if you want to respond briefly, is just, if people listening to this and they want to help protect the Tribuga and want to help protect this area, what can they do? Is there anything that we can do to support your efforts, signing a petition or getting involved in some way to help? Go ahead.
Okay, me first. The first thing is that this project became a collaborative project because we needed help. We didn't have the funds. We did it with a small crowdfunding. University came on board, and a lot of people came on board. How can I help? Giving money, or someone did the color correction for free. The other one did something. The other one I have this footage and stuff like that. So right now we have a website, expediciontribuga.com, and we are trying to put there some of the projects of the local people that we are trying to support. So this year, the idea would do, as I mentioned before, this documentary series, but behind that is supporting projects locally. So first thing is, of course, visit expediciontribuga.com and check our social media that we normally posting things from the area. We're still working for the area. Soon this year, we're gonna post a new crowdfunding, but most important is to the people to read, check, not only for Expedición Tribuga, not only for the Tribuga Gulf to protect, but right now it's a problem that is worldwide. So the idea will be, for me, my advice for people is like, people do the things that I'm doing. Environmental protection and working in this is super big and super complex, and sometimes the people get confused and they don't know how to start. So my advice is to start one step at a time. With this project, I did my first step. I stopped eating meat 2 years ago. I became vegetarian only 2 years ago, and stuff like that. So one step at a time, and check and be, empower of the climate change. How can I do better? Step by step. It doesn't have to be stop a port as we are doing in a difficult way, but a small step in order to protect places like this, but places because there's no planet B,
Right, there's not. There really isn't. Francisco, I don't know if you wanted to add briefly to that, how people can help.
No, I just agree with Luis, and to people to get informed about these things. These kind of things are happening all around the world every day. So just got well information and share it, and try to make awareness of different things in the world. And as Luis said, it's always like complex and overwhelming to start thinking about what can I do, and the whole world is like breaking apart, and it looks so big. So just to start for the first step, and try to. For me, it's like try to be more empathic and try to see that we all belong to this world, no matter if we are humans, animals, insects, flies. Everyone has a soul and spirit, and we should respect that. So, yeah, I think that knowledge of indigenous people, that they don't see the world as a possibility to serve them. They see them as a part of the whole, of a whole, and to break that balance of a whole, they are breaking their own spirit. So I think, yeah, be more empathic. Yeah,
that's perfect. Yeah, that reminds me of in the U.S. of a Native American proverb that is basically like, they think 7 generations ahead instead of just about yourself. And beautiful work, really important work. I hope folks will see the film and check out Expedition Tribuga online. Again, Luis, Francisco, it was an honor having you on the show. Thank you so much for all you're doing and for being on the program.
Thank you very much for the invitation.